Hey, what's happening, YouTube? It's your homie S. Akuma coming back at you again with another video. And today just runs the final video from this series of games in my case tournament back from April 20th at Collinswood, New Jersey, at the case tournament that we held. Before I get deeper into this video and talk about the gameplay during the commentary, I just want to say that I realized that my I said this on Facebook. If you see my post from Facebook, or I think I mentioned in my previous video, I realized that my channel has been very Sentinel flooded lately. But it just happens to be that that's the deck I was playing, and I got every match featuring myself. So a little selfish of me. So with that being said, next tournament, which I actually have coming up this weekend on May 18th, there's another case tournament at the same spot. So be prepared to catch just a variety of matchups, variety of different players. I'll try to get like the table one players, or people that are just undefeated or just have a good record or a good matchup that's coming up, depending on the decks or whatever, and get a variety of other different type of matches for the channel. And of course for you guys, the viewers. And I appreciate you all being here with me throughout this video series. If you love Sentinels like I do, Sentinel Nation stand up. If you're sick of seeing Sentinels, I apologize. We will get to some other great content. So with that being said, of course, Sentinels, I'm facing my worst matchup. Most unfavorable matchup in this Insecticons. Insecticons have very efficient attacks, especially being that they're 4 wide and that they have ISO functions. Playing ISO function, if they can at least seed 1, they have a minimum of 5 attacks throughout the game, so very strong for them. And of course, he won the die roll, and well, not of course, but excuse me, he won the die roll, and of course started off with Shrapnel and attacked into my Prowl. I then used Mirage to steal his Peace Through Tyranny, being that that was his only action in his hand. But taking Peace Through Tyranny is actually very good against this deck because they can easily off one of their characters and get a second turn, and depending on the situation where they would use it, kind of like how I showed in my last video, it can be very devastating for me. So yeah, I used Mirage, and then I also used Espionage to slow him down. I grabbed this Peace Through Tyranny and Grenade Launcher. Speeding up to now, looks like he's putting some damage on my Prime with Chop Shop. And I trade the Matrix of Leadership because it's not that good in this matchup for, I missed it, I moved too fast. Oh, it looks like I pressed the advantage. Alright, so I draw for my turn here. You got some decent damage spread on my guys. And now, at this point, being a Sentinel player, just looking at the field, I know I'm not worried about Shrapnel anymore in this situation. I want to get a possible guaranteed kill here. So I can imagine seeing myself possibly KOing the Chop Shop here in the situation. It does set him up for ISO function, but he'll never ISO function Chop Shop or Shrapnel unless it's like, definitely going in for a kill. It really depends on in the matchup, but they really want to use... Okay, so I use Force Field here, and this Force Field is nice because if my Prowl survives, he has to burn 2 more attacks on the Prowl before we stand. So if he does have the Bashing Shield here, he just has it. That means he's not using Erratic Lighting or Grenade Launcher or anything. So this is a perfect example of what I was talking about in my last video or my deck profile with Force Field. Okay, well, that's another out. Treasure Hunt into a Debilitating Crystals and out to the Force Field as well. But again, it's the same situation with Bashing Field. And unless you're playing new designs, that play that plus another powerful upgrade. And the fact that I made him use that in order to kill my Prowl instead, I'm okay with. Because that leaves my Prime to be able to possibly soak at least even 2 more hits and get my Ironhide to do some work. And that's exactly what he does. Okay, so his action and upgrade this turn was not even a power-up, but it was good enough. His barrage attack with the Bold 3 is good enough to still take out my Prowl. But it's okay. So he doesn't get Bashing Shield here. See, that's another example of for the future. He forewent getting that Bashing Shield. So if I happen to have another Force Field, okay, that's awkward. What just happened there? Oh, the Force Field was already gone. Oh, no, he bounced it back. I take that back. So I traded it. Okay, I thought I cheated here. I'm like, wait, I only played 1 Force Field. Don't mind me. So, but I ended up getting rid of it. The rest of my hand must be really good because I'm surprised I got rid of it because I really should have just kept that Force Field to put on Ironhide again. But I probably plan on putting a buff upgrade and a action on Ironhide this turn to try to KO the Barrage. But then at the same time, necessarily KOing Barrage isn't really ideal because if I KO the Barrage and he has ISO function, that's one of his best targets for ISO function. So even then, honestly, KOing the Barrage might not be the smartest play here because my Ironhide will be tapped. So, but let's see what I do here. Okay, so I do flip and I put 1 damage on the barrage. Looks like I have espionage, combat commands, 2 combat commands, 1 combat command. Press the advantage. Okay, combat commands and press the advantage. Okay, so it looks like I still am going for the kill. I think in this, there's also situations where it's like you kind of can't help if they have ISO function or not, because honestly, I say Chop Chop's not a valid or a great target for ISO function, but he could still bring it back here anyway to get 2 attacks and possibly, you know, just make sure he leaves me with 1 bot. It looks like I set up a combat commands play here, and I'm imagining, yeah, I used the Mirage to flip and try to take that Astro function if he did have it, but he ended up not having it. He had a swarm, looks like I took. So try to steal the Astro function. If he did have it, then that would have been good for me for my pre-planning. But looks like he top decked it anyway. Is that what he top decked? That looks like an Astro function. What a top decker. Part of the game, though. It's all good. No, maybe it's not. I feel like he would have just dropped it on the table immediately. Oh, no, it is ISO function. It really is. Jeez. Well, game's not looking good for me. So he has a decision here. Kickback might probably be staring down my Ironhide to try and KO it. See what he doesn't look like he has an action really to play this turn. I took his swarm last turn, but he topped that guy still function. He's debating should he even play it this turn. Okay, he plays mining pick, sets up for Scrabble, and okay, he does play ISO function on his barrage. Exactly what I was talking about. But there was nothing I could have did about that because he drew into it. So Kickback gets a very large attack. Looks like I'm assuming on Ironhide. Or no, maybe on the Prime. I can't tell. We're about to find out here, though. Okay, he does attack the Ironhide. And then he gets on my Ironhide again, I'm sure, to ensure that he kill and get a lot more flips. Yeah, I'm definitely KO'd here. Because he doesn't want me to attack with my Ironhide again with the combat commands and get any more value off of it, which I don't blame him. Get a good shuffle here. Trade espionage for press the advantage so I can try to guarantee a kill on one of his bots next turn. All right, I stand up. No, excuse me, we all stand up. I need to definitely kill Kickback here. If I don't, it's very bad for me. Looks like I have some options here. I can flip Prowl and get rid of his mining pick. He tried to set mining pick up on Scrapnel, but he may or may not have forgotten about my Prowl or wanted me to, he anticipated me doing that. I'm not 100%. But either way, that is an option that I have, and that'll help me out. So he has to have another weapon to be able to equip on the Scrapnel if I can go ahead and kill the Kickback here. That's the idea. Right now, the only unfortunate situation is I still have to put 2 attacks in the Scrapnel, and by the time I get a chance to do that, he'll have attacked my Prime twice. So I do scrap the mining pick here. All right. Oh, okay. So I have Energon Slingshot. So see right here, Slingshot. I put 1 on the Kickback. Okay, so I need to make sure I kill the Kickback. That's the reason why. I think I had 2 slingshots in my hand right here. If I'm looking at my hand and I'm thinking back, because in my head I know I can win next turn, but he actually ends up top decking another I still function. So not only did he get 4 attacks, he got 6 attacks on me. So yeah, I think I would have been fine if he didn't draw I still function, but this man drew another ISF. So that spells danger for me. And he flips orange on it. Okay, yeah. Orange and a white to extend his oranges. That's definitely game. So just looking back at this game, that makes me comfortable to know that I would have won other than, you know, him top decking I still function. Like in terms of just the matchup being so unfavorable, it's nice to know that, you know, I had a fighting chance without his great top decks. But hey, it is what it is. Not hating. You know, if I would have top decked, I would have been happy I top decked. So it happens. It's kind of devastating, though. It's still, you know, even when I sit here and look at it, it's like, man, 2 ISF. 1 I get, but the second one, all right. But what do? It's part of the game. So moving on to game 2 here. By the way, we agreed to draw. We're able to do that right now. And, there's no official rules on drawing or not drawing or anything like that. So we agreed to draw prior to the match. But I still wanted to get the match for the channel and just, play the matchup and see, just pretty much test against it and see how I do. So I start off with Mirage here again trying to slow him down on his first turn. His hand is not that strong. He has a Peace Through Tyranny and Reckless Charge and Improvised Shield. So that's good for me in terms of how slow his hand is. Now, the Peace Through Tyranny he still can use efficiently depending on, when he uses it. Because he has 4 wide, he can easily get one of his characters KO'd and get the extra turn and some nice attacks. So just like I was talking about in my last video towards the end, talking about who you should attack first, I think this was my first time really deciding on who I would attack. Now, after talking with some other players, I really debated if I was going to just go for it or not and try to get the KO on the kickback with Prowl, and I end up going for it. So let's see what happens here. Bold 1, white, and then extend into 6 attacks. So I hit 11 and killed the kickback on the very first turn. That was a very big deal. And the game could possibly be decided from that first turn because losing one of your strongest attackers was a big hit for the Mr. John Palmer, the Insecticon player. So, of course, he still does the normal. And as you can see, he didn't activate an action or an upgrade. Obviously, he's not going to use the Peace Through Tyranny this turn. So he's really set back right now in terms of being ahead in terms of plays per turn. And that's what you want. That's one of your ways of beating this matchup, or even like the double Grimlock deck, the Grimlock, Wheeljack, and Prowl deck that uses Steamroll on Wheeljack to get that rollover damage like Grimlock. Just really slow them down, and then hit them for that medium amount of damage, the best you can. All right, so 7 damage on my Prowl, so I am aware that one shot stand, one shot fall will kill my Prowl, but it's not like I'm playing turbo boosters or start your engine, so I'm not going to get any more use out of him anyway, so nothing I can do about it, but just something to be aware of. So I espionage his hand and try to slow him down even further, because he didn't play anything last turn, so I figured, well, if he has something he can want to possibly play for future turns, he won't be able to now. So I'm debating on should I take the Peace Through Tyranny here. I don't think taking Peace Through Tyranny would be smart here. There's no good situation in future turns that he's going to be able to use it. So I do take the Bashing Shield, especially if I draw my force field throughout the game. That'll be very strong for me because he'll have to go fish for his other Bashing Shield. I don't know if he played 2 or 3. I mean, he does also play Debilitating Crystal as well, so he has some outs. All right, so Matrix of Leadership, not that great here, but it'll do something. I mean, not in this turn. I mean, Scrapnel's only going to take 3, but there's no reason to put a grenade launcher or any of my characters because the Scrapnel can only take 3. So I think I was debating if I flipped or not. I feel like I didn't flip a character, and I did not. So I kind of back up just a second here before I go declaring my attacks. I just draw a card and just keep it moving. So I attack for about 7 here, but of course I'm only dealing 3 to the Scrapnel. The way he threw his hand up doesn't look like he drew a card that he liked. So he's even further behind. So I think just in general, him not being able to play an action or upgrade at all these turns. Yeah, this is another turn. All he's doing is flipping and attacking. So that's a good look for the Sentinel player. The Sentinel player. I said that like I'm not playing. Good look for myself so far. Apologize for that glare too. I got to figure out something. I don't know what exactly I can do about that glare, but just know it's Ironhide. So I still got a couple flips here. I have a Prowl flip that wouldn't do anything. I have a Hot Rod flip that will do 1 damage to probably the Shop. Oh no, okay, I set up for the future for Barrage, so make it easier to KO him. Press the advantage. Press the advantage is so good. That's one reason that I wanted to cut press the advantage down to 2, but I think I want to keep it at 3 just because I expect Insecticons to be heavily, or excuse, not more heavily. How do I want to say it? I expect more Insecticons at the next tournament because Sentinels are doing so well and Bugs have a good matchup against Sentinels. I expect more. So having press the advantage almost every time I need it, being able to play 3, and obviously that it's a green icon just makes my KOs easier to kill on their Insecticons, because I don't necessarily like Reckless Charge in this matchup because they already kill my bots easily. But let's say if I had any chance of surviving, I don't want to make it easier for them. And killing their bots, of course, you can guarantee killing their bots. But, okay, so he one-shot stand, one-shot falls his Barrage. And, see, it would have made it even further easier for him to kill my Ironhide. I mean, I think he still gets the kill here anyway, but even then. Like, you don't need to overkill the Bugs because they definitely play 0 blue. So Reckless Charge would only be good attacking against a Barrage, really. The rest of them, they kind of just die to press the advantage and a simple upgrade anyway. Okay, so actually, see, I live here. See, if I did have Reckless Charge or anything like that, right there, I would have been KO'd. So, looking at this video and remembering that the best Decepticon deck is Bugs, I think I'm definitely keep the 3 press the advantage. I did talk about going down to 2 in my last video, but I've since changed my mind. Since just now. So fortunately for me, my Ironhide lives, which means I can get another attack out of it, and I probably will send him in. My Prime is still undamaged, which is nice. And sending Ironhide in, if he does have direct damage, at least my Ironhide got some value. And then if he does have direct damage and then can go after my Prime is at full health. So, I'm not worried about him being KO'd anytime soon. So definitely taking the opportunity to kill Barrage here. I flip-flop. I use combat commands to flip-flop Hot Rod and deal 1 to Scrapnel, so that way next turn I can KO him with no problem, and then I'm attacking the Barrage for a sizable amount of damage and KO the Scrapnel. So now here, even if he did have, one-shot stand, he would kill himself, so that wouldn't make sense. He'd have to have Zap, or even Swarm wouldn't help, because Swarm I would just put all the damage on Prime, so he still has to attack my Ironhide. So unless he's playing Energon Slingshot, I got him every which, or Zap, I have him every which way, looks like, in this game. Just from looking at the board state. I think 2 or 3 of his turns, he didn't activate an action or an upgrade. He started off with a poor hand, took his only action that would have helped him do anything. Took his Bashing Shield. Not that the Bashing Shield would have really, I guess giving him one of his guys extra 1 defense could have possibly, at least he would have been able to do something. Playing the Bashing Shield for +1 defense is better than doing nothing. But he telegraphs that he drew I Still Function here, looking at his KO pile, but I Still Function doesn't do much here because the Scrapnel can still be attacked next turn. But he plays it anyway, okay. Flip Scrapnel. I thought he was going to tap down my but no, he's just flipping it for the extra defense. And he has Bold 2. There you go. Okay. So he hits me for 10. My Ironhide is way out of there. And that was smart by him. He got that flip for that 3 defense because, I still have to knock out 3 health. So looking at it right now, I only have 5 attack. But I flip Ironhide to get Pierce 2, Energon Slingshot, and then press the advantage. And that's more than enough to seal the win for game 2. All right, so we're setting up for game 3 here to decide it all. I think Palmer's record was 3-1 at this point. So whether he would actually lose and be 3-2, or we were to tie, he was gonna make it into top 8 no matter what. And then myself, I was 4-0. So whether I would have lose or to tie, it would have been the same deal. So again, at this point, we're just testing, getting familiar with the matchup. All right, game 3. So since he lost game 2, he's in a Bugs have a great position, especially when they win the dice roll and they get to go first and they win game 1. They know game 3 they can go first, so they always start off, of course, with their best starter. Okay, wow. So his Scrapnel flips very weak, but he still 6 on my prowl, and I flip 2 double oranges. Not that they'll help when I attack his Scrapnel anyway, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. But it gets a good amount of damage on prowl. So I go here, and I think it'll be the same line of play, being that on his turn 3, he'll be able to activate an action and an upgrade. Flipping Mirage is definitely the play here to try to slow him down, since he'll be able to activate both. I mean, it's the right play no matter what, for me personally, I think. As a matter of fact, 90% of the time, I always flip him first. And that's been working for me. Okay, so looks like he has Swarm, Peace Through Tyranny. Can't tell what that second card is, and one shall stand, one shall fall. Maybe Mining Pick? No, not Mining Pick. Can't tell. Or Erratic Lighting. Okay, Swarm. So I end up taking the one shall stand, one shall fall. Play the Bashing Shield on my Prime. Doesn't do anything because he doesn't play any armors. He does play his own Bashing Shield, but that extra 1 defense, that's the only other play I had that was worth playing this turn. So, hey, making him 18 overall versus 17 overall I'll take it. Make him a little harder to kill. So it looks like he draws Grenade Launcher in here. That's pretty strong. So excited for wave 3 and to actually start trying to build my own decks. I will admit, talked to a guy in my last video. He was asking me about deck building and how I go about deck building. Besides like the base cards, like, if I'm playing an orange deck, I play Grenade Launcher and like Peace Through Tyranny, Improvised Shield. Those are like the obvious ones. But like for me, I'm a better player than I am a deck builder. I kind of play what's obvious. I kind of get help from others or whatever. I'm not a good deck builder, but I want to kind of break that. Just because I'm not a good deck builder doesn't mean I can't become one or try to, and just put some stuff together and realize, okay, this sucks, that doesn't suck, or etc. But anyway, so he plays Swarm and he only flips 4. So I put the 4 damage on Prowl because he's going to be KO'd no matter what when he gets attacked anyway. Now I do put him in range for direct damage. Like one shall stand, one shall fall. I know at this point is the only other direct damage card he has. I know he's not playing Zap. I think I've seen his deck in entirety from game 1 and 2, so I'm not worried about that. But he puts Kickback on edge right here, and he goes in on my Prime, which I'm fine with. I'm very happy to see he put that much effort into my Prime, because I care about Prime, but I don't care about Prime. My Prime to me is like his Scrapnel to him. He's my damage soaker. So I'm perfectly fine with the use Grenade Launcher in that sense. I trade Supercharge for Press Day Advantage because it has better value. Of course, Grenade Launcher-esque, that Grenade Launcher-esque card is better than Supercharge in a situation. I don't have to hope to flip any oranges. I know I'm getting the +2 on my guy and -2 defense on his. One thing that's nice to do against Bugs, especially because they play I Still Function, is to try not to kill their bot and get them close to killing them. That way that you can use one direct damage to kill 2 bots in one turn. And I say that because if I go kill the Kickback here, which I think I do, I look back and I sit here and try to remind myself that I'm trying not to necessarily kill their Bugs every turn, depending on the situation because of I Still Function. But the thing is, first of all, I know he doesn't have it right now. He has to top deck into it because I saw his hand with Mirage. But it's like, sometimes you can't control your bots killing, theirs. In some decks you can, in some decks you can't. So like in this situation, I could play a Press Day Advantage, and my Prowl still just does too much to kill the Kickback anyway, and it is what it is. But if you can if you barely get their, if you get one of their bots to, almost be KO'd, it's actually sometimes better, because then on your next turn you can use Hot Rod or Energon Slingshot or One Shot Stand or whatever to get kill 2 bots in one turn. Okay, so I'm realizing that One Shot Stand, One Shot Fall is the only card that will kill my Prowl here. And I'm taking a chance because I knew I got rid of one. I think I saw him flip another one earlier. So I'm like, the odds of him having a third one are going to be really low. So I send my Ironhide in here anyway, or instead rather, and kill the Kickback. which I keep looking at, and like it may have been a mistake, but then just not using the press day advantage, I would have only been at 7, which would have left his kickback at like what, still with 3 health. So better off just killing that situation is hoping he doesn't have the I still function. So erratic lighting on Barrage makes it a little easier for me to kill his guy, but he's definitely going to KO my Prime. Again, he's attacking my Prime. That's what I want. And he's leaving my Ironhide undamaged. I personally, being the Insecticon player, would have attacked Ironhide because I realize and know that my opponent doesn't care about Prime. So I think that's one thing that's really good about knowing your matchup and knowing your own deck, especially. Learning a couple things from De Silva from a couple tournaments ago. Yeah, he was, using his Prime as his damage soaker, and if I attacked him, he was perfectly fine with that. I think in my other 2 matchups too, in Sentinel Mirrors, they also attacked my Prime, which I was fine with. Using a lot of effort to kill him, sure, that's all good. That's what I want you to do, because Prime and Ironhide, once again, are the reasons why you win the game for the most part. There are a good bit of games as well too where your Prime is the last to be stood, but that's cool because he still has that high health, So. All right, so combat commands here. Sending my Prowl out one last swing. He'll most likely be KO'd on the next turn. Now, his Chop Shop, he had an interesting way of using his attacks. Normally, you attack with Kickback and Barrage last, but he actually ended up attacking with them earlier than that. So I'm going to take advantage of this right now and try to get rid of his strongest attackers. I already got rid of one in the Kickback. Yep, this is the epitome of competitive gameplay. We're sitting here playing pretty serious, kind of, a little light on our, on a situation because we know we're both in the top 8, but definitely some top level play here from both of us. I sit back and think about some things I possibly could have did differently. Press the advantage. There it is again. It seems like I always have pressed the advantage, and playing 3 allows me to do that. So I definitely don't think I'm taking that card out, especially because I expect a rise in Decepticons in the next tournament. So I flip Mirage here, and okay, I take his Peace Through Tyranny just in case he did have that. If he had I Still Function there or One Shot Stand, I would have been able to steal it. So I get rid of the Barrage there. And John Palmer is the man. He's real dope. He plays a whole bunch of different decks. He played Primes in the last tournament. Me and him bumped heads. Playing Insecticons. Apparently he played Insecticon before a couple tournaments, or way back in Wave 1. So he's definitely seasoned with this deck. And he doesn't just play cards just to play them. He's definitely thinking about his moves before he makes them. Very solid player. I think right here I'll have to, well, should I spoil it? No, I won't spoil it because I know what he's looking for here. I find out obviously after he tells me later on in the match, and I think I have the card in my hand too. I'll talk about it once it comes up. But he's thinking a lot here because he's wondering if I have a certain card in my hand that he saw earlier. So he plays the Bastion Shield, nothing to destroy, but he gets the extra defense just like I did earlier in the game. There's an I Still Function. He attacks my Prowl. He doesn't want me getting another attack with him, of course, especially with the combat commands. I trade that Enigma for Press the Advantage. There we go again. Press the Advantage. Love that card. One of my favorite cards in the set. Although I am kind of hoping Decepticons get a card like Press the Advantage, that's powerful like Press the Advantage on the in the next wave. Okay, so I didn't have the card in my hand, so I got lucky and top decked it, looks like. Because I had One Shall Stand in my hand, and I traded a card for Press the Advantage. So I flip Hot Rod back to set up for the next turn. And it's looking pretty bleak for me here because I have to try to get rid of, at least one character for sure. Which I obviously can. I can just easily kill the Scrapnel, but then his Chop Shop is still at full health. So I do have the One Shot Stand here. So I'm able to KO the Scrapnel and go in on the Chop Shop and hopefully get the KO. I do have the Force Field here. Force Field is the card I top decked that he was looking for earlier, wondering if I drew into it again, debating if he wanted to play his Bashing Shield or not. But even if he did keep the Bashing Shield, he would have played it this turn, killed my Force Field, and then still might not be able to KO my Ironhide. This is a perfect example of what I was talking about in my previous video, in my deck profile, of why I possibly wanted to play more Force Fields. Because now he's not able to activate, he wouldn't have been able to activate Grenade Launcher or Supercharge or anything like that anyway. And being that even if he does have Grenade Launcher and Supercharge, spoiler alert, those are the cards he has in his hand, he won't be able to break my Force Field and deal more than 4 damage. So I end up being able to take the win right here. And with that, that ends my video series on this case tournament. Expect more matches from my case tournament coming up this Saturday with a variety of other players and matches to come soon. Thank you guys always for watching.